The Helix Confederation believed they had won. After 5 years of bloodshed, humanity's fleets were shattered, their homeworld reduced to ashes. The galaxy cheered as the Saurian Admiral Corvin stood victorious, promising an era of peace for the Confederation. But as the stars fell silent and deep space turned still, something unimaginable began to stir in the dark void. Ships vanished without a trace. Monitoring stations blinked out, and soon whispers of a terrifying truth reached the ears of the conquerors. Humanity wasn't defeated. It had evolved, and now with a single thought they could break the very fabric of space itself. The silent victory. The great crystal spires of Helix Prime gleamed in the light of 3 suns as Admiral Corvin strode through the Victory Plaza. His scaled feet clicked against the polished stone while thousands of beings from across the Confederation cheered his arrival. Banners displaying the symbols of 3 allied species fluttered in the artificial breeze. The crimson claws of the Saurian Empire, the geometric patterns of the Vex Collective, and the swirling energies of the Luminary Consortium. Today marked the end of humanity's foolish rebellion against the natural order of the galaxy. Admiral Corvin allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he approached the ceremonial platform. 5 years of war had finally concluded with the complete destruction of human civilization. No longer would these upstart mammals dare to challenge the supremacy of the Helix Confederation. The crowd fell silent as Corvin reached the podium. His yellow eyes swept across the assembled masses. Saurian officers stood at attention, their reptilian features showing the pride of victorious warriors. Vex drones hovered in perfect geometric formations, their insectoid bodies reflecting the light like living metal. The luminari appeared as floating orbs of pure energy, pulsing in harmonious patterns that expressed their contentment. Citizens of the Confederation, Corvin began, his voice amplified across the plaza and broadcast throughout Helix space. Today we celebrate not just victory, but the restoration of galactic order. The human threat has been eliminated. A roar of approval echoed from the crowd. Corvin raised one clawed hand for silence before continuing. For too long, these primitive mammals dared to resist our rightful expansion. They claimed independence when they should have shown submission. They fought when they should have surrendered. They chose extinction over accepting their proper place as servants to their betters. The statistics of victory scrolled across holographic displays surrounding the plaza. 12 human colony worlds destroyed or captured. The entire human fleet of over 2,000 ships reduced to space debris. Earth itself rendered uninhabitable by orbital bombardment. The estimated human population had dropped from 8 billion to perhaps a few 100,000 scattered survivors hiding in the Outer Rim territories. The war began when humans refused our generous offer of protectorate status. Corvin continued, his voice taking on a lecturing tone. They claimed their species deserved self-determination. They spoke of freedom as if lesser beings had any right to such concepts. They forced us to teach them the harsh reality of galactic power. In the VIP section, Hive Commander Zix of the Vex Collective clicked her mandibles in agreement. The insectoid leader had personally overseen the siege of the human stronghold at Alpha Centauri. Beside her, the energy being known as Radiance of Victory pulsed with satisfaction. The Luminary had provided the energy weapons that cracked human planetary shields like eggshells. Human technology was adequate, Corvin admitted, but their tactics were primitive. They relied too heavily on individual initiative rather than proper hierarchical command structures. Their ships fought independently instead of in perfect formation. Their soldiers showed emotion instead of discipline. These weaknesses made their defeat inevitable. The Admiral gestured to a holographic display showing the final battle above Earth. Human ships scattered like leaves before the organized might of the Confederation fleet. They called it courage. We know it was simply the death throes of an inferior species. But even as the crowd cheered, something was beginning to go wrong in the outer reaches of Confederation space. Deep Space Monitoring Station 7, located 3 light-years from the former human colony of New Olympia, had missed its hourly check-in. The automated system showed all green, but no response came from the crew of 40 Saurian technicians. Station Commander Krex tried to establish contact with Station 7 from his post at Deep Space Command. Station 7, this is Deep Space Command. Please respond to routine check-in. Static filled the communication channels. Krex frowned and adjusted the settings on his equipment. Equipment failures were rare but not impossible. Station 8, this is Deep Space Command. Can you establish visual contact with Station 7? The response came immediately. Command, this is Station 8. We have Station 7 on long-range sensors. All systems appear normal, but they're not responding to our hails either. Krex made a note in his log but wasn't particularly concerned. The war had left some equipment damaged, and the stations were often slow to report minor technical problems. He would send a maintenance crew in the morning. Meanwhile, aboard the cargo vessel Helix Prosperity, Captain Vorth was beginning to worry. His ship carried processed minerals from the former human world of New Geneva to the industrial centers of the inner systems. The route took him through what had once been human space, now redesignated as Confederation Territory 7. Navigation, how long until we reach the beacon point? Vorth asked his helmsman. 17 minutes, Captain. We should receive the standard navigation beacon signal any moment now. But the beacon signal never came. The beacon point, a massive automated station that provided navigation data and traffic control for the shipping lanes, remained silent. Vorth tried to contact the station directly, but received no response. Sensors, do you detect the beacon station? Yes, Captain. It's exactly where it should be. All systems show normal power signatures, but it's not transmitting. Vorth considered his options. He could investigate the station, but that would delay his cargo delivery. More likely, the beacon had suffered some minor technical failure that would be repaired by a maintenance crew within hours. He decided to continue on his planned route using backup navigation systems. As the Helix Prosperity continued its journey, none of the crew noticed the brief sensor ghost that appeared and disappeared near the silent beacon station. Something had been there, something that didn't match any known ship configuration in the Confederation database. But the sensors dismissed it as background radiation from a distant star. Back on Helix Prime, Admiral Corvin was reaching the climax of his victory speech. The human chapter of galactic history is closed forever. Their worlds will be rebuilt as proper Confederation colonies. Their resources will fuel our continued expansion. Their fate will serve as a warning to any other species that might consider defying the natural order. The crowd erupted in celebration as Corvin concluded his speech. Fireworks lit the sky in the colors of the 3 allied species. Music played from 1,000 different cultures that had submitted to Confederation rule over the centuries. Food and drink flowed freely as beings from across known space celebrated humanity's extinction. But in the darkest regions of space, where the light of distant stars barely penetrated the void, something else was stirring. In asteroid fields and nebula clouds, in the spaces between systems where no ships normally traveled, small groups of humans were doing something that the Confederation couldn't imagine. Dr. Sarah Chen floated in the zero gravity of her hidden laboratory, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid in the Kuiper belt of what had once been the Sol system. Around her, dozens of other human survivors worked at equipment that would have puzzled Confederation scientists. This wasn't technology in any conventional sense. The humans were working with something far more fundamental. The neural interfaces are showing improved synchronization, reported Dr. James Park from his workstation. We're achieving 94% harmony across all connected minds. Sarah nodded, though the gesture was unnecessary. Through the neural link they all shared, she could feel his satisfaction directly. The same link connected her to 300 other survivors scattered across 12 hidden facilities. Each group worked on a different aspect of the project, but all their efforts fed into a single, unprecedented goal. Increase the quantum resonance by 2%, Sarah thought, and simultaneously, operators at facilities light years away made the necessary adjustments. They worked as one mind distributed across space, coordinating their efforts with impossible precision. The Confederation had been right about one thing: human technology was adequate but not superior. Human tactics, as traditionally practiced, were flawed. Human soldiers did show emotion instead of pure discipline, but the aliens had made a critical error in their assessment. They assumed that humanity's nature was fixed, unchangeable. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Marcus Webb, formerly a captain in the Human Defense Force, now served as field coordinator for the scattered survivor cells. His unit of 12 operated from a hidden base carved into the core of a rogue planet drifting in interstellar space. They had been preparing for 3 months, studying captured Confederation technology and mapping the enemy's patrol routes. Target acquired, whispered Elena Vasquez, Marcus's second-in-command, as she watched a Saurian patrol ship through her scope. The vessel was conducting a routine sweep of the area, searching for any human survivors who might be hiding among the asteroids. Network confirms all teams in position, Marcus replied, though he spoke to himself as much as to his team. Through the neural link, he could sense the presence of 40 other human units positioned throughout Confederation space. They would all strike simultaneously, with perfect coordination. The patrol ship USS Dominator carried a crew of 30 Saurian Marines, equipped with the finest weapons and armor the Confederation could provide. They had served in the final assault on Earth and considered themselves veterans of humanity's defeat. They expected to find perhaps a few dozen desperate refugees hiding in cargo containers or makeshift shelters. Instead, they found nothing. Or so it seemed. The ship's sensors detected no life signs, no power sources, no indication that humans had ever been in this sector of space. The Marines prepared to move on to the next search grid. That's when the lights went out. Not just the lights, every system on the ship failed simultaneously. Gravity, atmosphere recycling, communications, weapons, everything went dark in the same instant. Emergency power should have activated automatically, but even that remained silent. In the pitch darkness of the disabled ship, something moved through the corridors. The Saurian Marines tried to activate their personal equipment, but found that their devices had also failed. Panic began to spread as they realized they were completely helpless. Then the crew began to disappear. One by one, the Marines simply vanished from their posts. No sounds of struggle, no calls for help, no indication of what was taking them. Their comrades would turn to speak to someone, only to find empty space where their fellow soldier had been standing moments before. Within an hour, the USS Dominator drifted empty and silent through space. Its hull remained intact, its systems undamaged but mysteriously non-functional. The crew of 30 had vanished as completely as if they had never existed. Similar incidents began occurring throughout Confederation space. Ships found empty and drifting. Monitoring stations that went silent without explanation. Patrol units that simply disappeared from their assigned routes. Each incident involved small numbers of personnel, and the Confederation military initially dismissed them as isolated technical failures or possible defections. But Dr. Sarah Chen and her fellow survivors were just getting started. The neural network that connected the human survivors was more than a communication system. It was the foundation of something that had never existed in the galaxy before, a truly collective consciousness that maintained individual identity while sharing thoughts, emotions, and capabilities across impossible distances. Through this network, a human soldier on a rogue planet could access the memories and skills of a scientist in an asteroid belt. An engineer could share technical knowledge instantly with mechanics scattered across dozens of star systems. Most importantly, they could coordinate their actions with precision that no military organization had ever achieved. The Confederation had defeated individual humans. Now they would face humanity as a single unified entity. As Admiral Corvin retired to his quarters after the victory celebration, he remained unaware that his perfect triumph was already beginning to unravel. The scattered reports of missing ships and silent stations had not yet reached the high command. The celebration would continue for several more days before anyone realized that the war against humanity was far from over. In the darkness between stars, something new was being born. The humans hadn't just survived their defeat. They had used it as an opportunity to evolve into something the galaxy had never seen before. The real battle was about to begin. The Awakening Storm. Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity workshop of Base Omega, a hidden facility carved deep into the metallic core of asteroid designation XK-739. Around her, the soft hum of machinery mixed with the quiet conversations of 47 human survivors as they worked on devices that would have baffled the greatest minds of the Confederation. These weren't weapons in any traditional sense, but something far more revolutionary. Network synchronization at 97.3% and climbing, reported Dr. Michael Torres from his station, where waves of data flowed across multiple screens. All cells are reporting successful integration. Elena nodded, feeling the familiar tingle in her mind as the neural link strengthened. Through the connection, she could sense her fellow survivors across dozens of hidden bases scattered throughout what had once been human space. Their thoughts, emotions, and memories flowed together like tributaries joining a great river, while somehow maintaining their individual identities. "Marcus, what's the status on Operation Silence?" she asked, her words traveling instantly through the quantum neural network to reach Marcus Webb on his rogue planet base 3 light-years away. "Phase 1 complete," came his immediate response, his mental voice carrying satisfaction and grim determination. 17 Confederation vessels neutralized, no survivors, no wreckage, no evidence. They still think it's equipment failure. Through the link, Elena experienced Marcus's memories of the latest operation. She saw through his eyes as human teams phased through solid metal barriers, their bodies existing partially outside normal space-time thanks to the quantum field generators they had developed. She felt his emotions as Saurian Marines simply vanished, transported instantly to holding facilities in dimensions the Confederation couldn't detect. The transformation hadn't been easy. In the months following Earth's destruction, the scattered human survivors had faced a choice: accept extinction or evolve beyond their limitations. They chose evolution. Dr. Sarah Chen, the brilliant physicist who had become their de facto leader, had made the breakthrough while studying captured luminary technology. The energy beings of the Luminary Consortium existed partially outside normal spacetime, which explained their ability to manipulate matter and energy in seemingly impossible ways. But Sarah realized that consciousness itself might be the key to transcending physical limitations. The Confederation sees consciousness as a byproduct of brain chemistry, Sarah had explained during the early experiments. But what if consciousness is actually a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism? What if we can learn to manipulate it directly? The neural network had started as a simple communication system, allowing survivors to coordinate their activities across vast distances. But as more minds joined the connection, something unexpected happened. The collective consciousness began to exhibit properties that individual human minds could never achieve. Elena accessed the shared memories of the network, reviewing the past week's operations. In the Vega system, a team led by former Marine Sergeant David Kim had infiltrated a Vex mining facility. The insectoid workers had been removed without violence, simply transported to a dimension where time moved differently. To any outside observer, they had simply vanished in an instant. Near the former human colony of New Geneva, Commander Lisa Park had led an operation against a Saurian patrol base. The reptilian soldiers had found their weapons and equipment mysteriously failing just before they too disappeared. The base's automated systems continued to function normally, reporting that all personnel were at their posts and that everything was operating within normal parameters. Part 2. The Awakening Storm. Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity workshop of Base Omega, a hidden facility carved deep into the metallic core of asteroid designation XK-739. Around her, the soft hum of machinery mixed with the quiet conversations of 47 human survivors as they worked on devices that would have baffled the greatest minds of the Confederation. These weren't weapons in any traditional sense, but something far more revolutionary. Network synchronization at 97.3% and climbing, reported Dr. Michael Torres from his station, where waves of data flowed across multiple screens. All cells are reporting successful integration. Elena nodded, feeling the familiar tingle in her mind as the neural link strengthened. Through the connection, she could sense her fellow survivors across dozens of hidden bases scattered throughout what had once been human space. Their thoughts, emotions, and memories flowed together like tributaries joining a great river, while somehow maintaining their individual identities. "Marcus, what's the status on Operation Silence?" she asked, her words traveling instantly through the quantum neural network to reach Marcus Webb on his rogue planet base 3 light-years away. "Phase 1 complete," came his immediate response, his mental voice carrying satisfaction and grim determination. 17 Confederation vessels neutralized. No survivors, no wreckage, no evidence. They still think it's equipment failure. Through the link, Elena experienced Marcus's memories of the latest operation. She saw through his eyes as human teams phased through solid metal barriers, their bodies existing partially outside normal spacetime thanks to the quantum field generators they had developed. She felt his emotions as Saurian Marines simply vanished, transported instantly to holding facilities in dimensions the Confederation couldn't detect. The transformation hadn't been easy. In the months following Earth's destruction, the scattered human survivors had faced a choice: accept extinction or evolve beyond their limitations. They chose evolution. Dr. Sarah Chen, the brilliant physicist who had become their de facto leader, had made the breakthrough while studying captured luminary technology. The energy beings of the Luminary Consortium existed partially outside normal spacetime, which explained their ability to manipulate matter and energy in seemingly impossible ways. But Sarah realized that consciousness itself might be the key to transcending physical limitations. The Confederation sees consciousness as a byproduct of brain chemistry, Sarah had explained during the early experiments. But what if consciousness is actually a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism? What if we can learn to manipulate it directly? The neural network had started as a simple communication system, allowing survivors to coordinate their activities across vast distances. But as more minds joined the connection, something unexpected happened. The collective consciousness began to exhibit properties that individual human minds could never achieve. Elena accessed the shared memories of the network, reviewing the past week's operations. In the Vega system, a team led by former Marine Sergeant David Kim had infiltrated a Vex mining facility. The insectoid workers had been removed without violence, simply transported to a dimension where time moved differently. To any outside observer, they had simply vanished in an instant. Near the former human colony of New Geneva, Commander Lisa Park had led an operation against a Saurian patrol base. The reptilian soldiers had found their weapons and equipment mysteriously failing just before they too disappeared. The base's automated systems continued to function normally, reporting that all personnel were at their posts and that everything was operating within normal parameters. "The Confederation is starting to take notice," reported Dr. James Park from his laboratory hidden in a nebula cloud. Through the neural link, Elena felt his concern mixed with anticipation. "Intelligence indicates they're forming an investigation committee." Elena smiled grimly. Let them investigate. They would find nothing because they were looking for conventional threats using conventional methods. The humans had moved beyond conventional limitations. "Initiate Phase 2, Elena commanded, her thoughts reaching every connected mind simultaneously. Across Confederation space, human teams began implementing the next stage of their plan. Admiral Corvin stood in the Situation Room of Helix Command, staring at a holographic display that made no sense. Red indicators marked the locations of 17 missing ships, 12 silent monitoring stations, and 8 facilities that had stopped responding to communications. The pattern of losses stretched across 3 star systems but showed no logical connection. "What do we know about these incidents?" Corvin demanded, his scaled fists clenched behind his back. Commander Vexus, his intelligence chief, manipulated the display to show timeline data. "The disappearances began 5 days ago, sir. No distress signals, no debris fields, no indication of hostile action. The vessels and stations simply stopped responding." "Pirates," suggested General Thix, the Saurian ground forces commander. "No signs of theft or destruction," Vexus replied. "When we investigated, we found the ships intact but empty. Personal belongings undisturbed, cargo holds full, no indication of struggle. The crews just vanished." Corvin studied the display more carefully. The missing vessels included patrol ships, cargo haulers, and even a heavy cruiser with a crew of 300. Whatever was responsible had the capability to neutralize military vessels without leaving any trace of how it was accomplished. "What about the monitoring stations?" Corvin asked. "Same pattern, sir. All systems functioning normally, but no response from personnel. When investigation teams arrived, they found the stations completely empty. No bodies, no signs of violence, no indication of where the crews went. The most disturbing aspect was the complete lack of evidence. In Corvin's experience, every hostile action left some trace. Ships left wreckage when destroyed. Pirates took cargo and left bodies. Even the most sophisticated stealth technology couldn't hide all signs of an attack. But these incidents showed no evidence of any action whatsoever. "Could this be some kind of natural phenomenon?" asked Dr. Zeleth, the Confederation's chief scientist. "Perhaps a spatial anomaly we haven't encountered before?" Before anyone could answer, an aide rushed into the Situation Room. "Admiral, we're receiving an emergency transmission from the cargo vessel Helix Fortune. They report that their escort destroyer has gone dark." Corvin turned to the main communications screen. "Put them through." The face of a panicked Vex captain appeared on the screen, her compound eyes wide with fear. "Helix Command, this is Captain Zyth of the Helix Fortune. Our escort ship stopped responding 10 minutes ago. We can see them on sensors, but they won't answer our hails." "What's your location, Captain?" "Sector 7G near the asteroid belt. We were following standard shipping protocols when the destroyer just went silent." Corvin exchanged glances with his staff. "Another incident happening in real time. Captain, can you perform a visual inspection of the escort vessel?" "We're trying, sir, but our sensors are malfunctioning. We're getting readings that don't make sense. The destroyer appears to be there and not there at the same time." The transmission began to break up with static. "Captain, repeat your last transmission." "Admiral, something's wrong with our ship too. Systems are failing throughout the vessel. We're losing power to critical systems. I don't understand how this is." The transmission cut to silence. Corvin stared at the blank screen for several seconds before turning to his communications officer. "Dispatch a battle group to investigate immediately." "Already being prepared, sir. The battle cruiser Helix Dominance and 2 destroyer escorts are standing by. Tell them to proceed with maximum caution. Whatever we're dealing with can neutralize ships without warning." 3 hours later, the battle group reached the location where the Helix Fortune had sent its last transmission. They found 2 ships drifting silently through space, the cargo vessel and its destroyer escort. Both appeared undamaged, their hulls intact and systems powered, but completely empty of life. "This is impossible," muttered Captain Gorix of the Helix Dominance as he reviewed the sensor reports. 73 beings don't just disappear from sealed vessels in the middle of space. His science officer, a young luminary named Flicker of Thought, pulsed with confusion. "Captain, I'm detecting residual quantum signatures around both vessels. It's almost as if space-time itself was twisted somehow. Twisted how? I've never seen readings like these before. It's as if something created a fold in dimensional space, but without any technology I can recognize. Captain Gorix ordered his boarding teams to investigate both vessels. The Marines who entered the ships found everything exactly as it should be, except for the complete absence of the crews. Personal belongings remained undisturbed. Food sat half-eaten in mess halls. Computer logs showed normal operations right up to the moment the ships went silent. No signs of struggle, no indication of forced entry, no traces of unknown technology, reported the Marine commander. It's like the crews just ceased to exist. But they hadn't ceased to exist. 73 Confederation citizens now resided in a pocket dimension created by human consciousness, where time moved differently and space could be shaped by will. They were alive, unharmed, and completely unaware that they were no longer in normal reality. Elena Vasquez reviewed the operation through the shared memories of the team that had executed it. The humans had approached the target vessels while existing partially outside normal space-time, making them invisible to conventional sensors. They had created dimensional folds around the crew members, transporting them instantly to secure holding facilities. Phase 2 proceeding perfectly, reported Marcus Webb through the neural link. Confederation forces are beginning to panic. They have no frame of reference for what we're doing. Good, Elena replied, but we need to escalate. It's time they understood they're not dealing with the same humanity they thought they destroyed. The next phase of operations began immediately. Instead of targeting isolated ships and stations, the human team started hitting major installations. A Saurian military academy on Proxima 7 reported that its entire class of 300 cadets had vanished overnight. A Vex industrial complex found all 4,000 workers missing when the day shift arrived. Each incident followed the same impossible pattern: no signs of struggle, no evidence of intrusion, no indication of where the missing beings had gone. The Confederation's best scientists and military experts could offer no explanations. Dr. Sarah Chen monitored the Confederation's communications from her hidden laboratory, accessing their networks through quantum infiltration techniques that bypassed all security measures. She could feel the growing fear and confusion spreading through their command structure. "They're calling emergency sessions of the High Council," she reported through the neural link. "Admiral Corvin has been ordered to provide answers within 48 hours. "Does he have any answers?" asked Elena. "None. Their best theory is that we've somehow acquired technology from an unknown alien species. They still don't realize we've transcended the need for conventional technology." The truth was far more radical than anything the Confederation could imagine. The humans hadn't just acquired new technology, they had evolved into something that existed partially outside the normal laws of physics. Through their collective consciousness, they could manipulate space-time itself, creating dimensional folds and existing in multiple realities simultaneously. Individual human minds were limited by the constraints of biological neural networks. But hundreds of minds linked together through quantum consciousness created something entirely new, a form of existence that could ignore traditional physical limitations. "Network efficiency at 99.1%, reported Dr. Torres. "All survivor groups fully integrated. We now have the capability to coordinate operations across the entire galaxy simultaneously." Elena felt the power flowing through the neural network. Hundreds of human minds working as one, their combined consciousness capable of reshaping reality through pure will. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before, a collective entity that maintained individual identity while possessing capabilities beyond anything in known science. "Admiral Corvin wants answers," Elena said, her thoughts reaching every connected mind. "Let's give him some." The next morning, every Confederation facility in former human space received the same message. It appeared simultaneously on every screen, in every language, transmitted through channels that shouldn't have existed. "To the Helix Confederation, you celebrated our extinction. You divided our worlds among yourselves. You thought you had won. You were wrong. We are no longer the humanity you fought. We have become something new, something beyond your understanding. Your missing people are safe, but they will not be returned. Consider this a demonstration of what we are now capable of. You have 48 hours to begin evacuating all personnel from former human territory. This is your only warning." The network. Admiral Corvin stared at the message that had appeared on his personal command screen, his blood running cold. The implications were staggering. Not only had humans survived their supposed extinction, but they had somehow developed capabilities that made conventional warfare obsolete. "Sir," his aide announced, "we're receiving reports that the message appeared simultaneously on every Confederation device in this sector. Our communications experts have no idea how it was transmitted. Corvin studied the message again. The humans were giving them 48 hours to evacuate their own territory. The arrogance was breathtaking, but the demonstration of power that accompanied it was undeniable. If they could make thousands of people disappear without a trace, what else were they capable of? Contact the High Council, Corvin ordered. Tell them we need to discuss terms of engagement with a completely unknown form of warfare. But Elena Vasquez and the network weren't interested in negotiation. They had spent months preparing for this moment, and they intended to reclaim everything the Confederation had taken from them. Through the neural link, she could feel the presence of every human survivor, their minds united in purpose and power. They had become something that transcended individual existence while maintaining their essential humanity. The Confederation had 48 hours to learn what happened when they underestimated the adaptability of the human species. Time was running out, and the real demonstration of power was yet to come. Admiral Corvin stood before the emergency session of the Helix Confederation High Council, his normally composed demeanor cracking under the weight of impossible reports. The holographic projections of Supreme Chancellor Vorth, Hive Mind Alpha of the Vex Collective, and primary radiance of the Luminary Consortium flickered before him in the secure council chamber. Explain to us, Admiral, how an extinct species has managed to make over 15,000 of our citizens vanish without a trace. Chancellor Vorth's scaled features twisted with barely contained rage. Your assurances of human extinction appear to have been premature. Corvin's claws scraped against the metal podium as he struggled to find words that would make sense of the impossible. Respected council members, we are dealing with something unprecedented. These are not the humans we fought 5 years ago. They have developed capabilities that our science cannot explain. Capabilities? Hive Mind Alpha's compound eyes glittered with interest. Elaborate. They can phase through solid matter. They appear and disappear at will. They transport large numbers of beings across dimensional barriers that shouldn't exist. Our most advanced sensors cannot detect them until they choose to reveal themselves. Primary radiance pulsed with skeptical energy patterns. You speak of dimensional manipulation, Admiral. That requires technology beyond anything even we Luminary have achieved. How could a primitive species develop such capabilities in mere months? I don't know, Corvin admitted, the words bitter in his mouth. But the evidence is undeniable. They have given us 18 hours to evacuate all personnel from former human territory. Preposterous, Chancellor Vorth snarled. We do not negotiate with inferiors. Double our military presence in those sectors. If these human remnants want to fight, we'll finish what we started. But even as the Council issued orders for massive military mobilization, something was happening in the space above their most important worlds. On 17 different planets across Confederation territory, the laws of physics began to bend. Dr. Sarah Chen floated in her asteroid laboratory. Her consciousness expanded far beyond the confines of her physical body. Through the quantum neural network, she was simultaneously present with every human survivor across the galaxy. Hundreds of minds working as one, their combined will focused on a single unprecedented goal. Network integration at maximum efficiency, she announced, though her words reached every connected mind instantly. All consciousness streams aligned, beginning reality manipulation protocols. Around her, the hidden facility hummed with energy that existed outside conventional physics. The humans had spent months learning to harness the fundamental forces that shape space and time. Now they would demonstrate what collective consciousness could achieve when freed from the limitations of individual existence. Elena Vasquez felt her awareness stretch across light years as she joined her consciousness with the network. Through hundreds of minds linked as one, she could perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously. Reality became fluid, malleable, subject to the combined will of evolved humanity. Initiating dimensional cascade, Elena announced through the network. All units prepare for manifestation. Above the Saurian homeworld of Krex Prime, space itself began to tear. Commander Thylex of the Orbital Defense Station was the first to notice something wrong. His sensors detected massive gravitational distortions appearing in empty space, growing larger with each passing second. The readings made no sense according to known physics. Sir, we're detecting some kind of spatial anomaly forming directly above the capital city, his sensor operator reported, her voice tight with confusion. It's like space itself is ripping open. Thylex studied the impossible data flowing across his screens. The anomaly wasn't being caused by any kind of technology he could recognize. It appeared to be forming spontaneously, as if reality itself was breaking down. Contact Planetary Command, he ordered. Alert them to possible dimensional instability in orbit. But before the message could be sent, the tear in space widened enough for something to emerge. Not ships or missiles, but beings that seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Human figures wrapped in fields of distorted reality, their forms shifting between solid matter and pure energy. Elena Vasquez stepped through the dimensional rift above Crex Prime, her consciousness expanded to encompass multiple layers of existence simultaneously. Behind her, 46 other human survivors emerged from the tear in space, each one connected to the others through quantum links that transcended physical distance. Through the network, Elena could perceive the entire Saurian homeworld at once. She sensed the fear and confusion of the billions of reptilian inhabitants below. She felt the electromagnetic signatures of their defense systems powering up to repel an invasion that they couldn't understand. "Surface defense grid is targeting us," reported Marcus Webb through the neural link, his consciousness manifesting above the planet's northern continent. "Should we neutralize their weapons?" "Unnecessary," Elena replied. "Demonstrate our capabilities instead." The humans began to descend toward the planet's surface, but not through conventional flight. They manipulated space-time around themselves, creating localized distortions that allowed them to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. To the sensors tracking them, each human appeared to be in dozens of places at once. General Vexter commanded the planetary defense forces from his bunker deep beneath the capital city. His screens showed readings that violated everything he knew about physics and warfare. The human attackers appeared to be ignoring every fundamental law of reality. "Fire all orbital defense platforms," he ordered. "Maximum power, concentrated bombardment." Hundreds of energy weapons fired simultaneously, their combined output enough to destroy a small moon. The beam should have incinerated anything in their path. Instead, they passed harmlessly through the human figures as if they existed in a different dimension entirely. "Weapons have no effect," reported his tactical officer. "The humans are phasing between dimensional states. Our energy attacks cannot touch them when they exist outside normal spacetime." Elena smiled as the Confederation's most powerful weapons proved useless against evolved humanity. Through the network, she could feel the awe and determination of her fellow survivors as they demonstrated abilities that transcended conventional understanding. "Begin the demonstration," she commanded through the quantum link. Across the surface of Crex Prime, human consciousness began to reshape reality itself. Military installations found their weapons systems transforming into harmless sculptures. Soldiers discovered their armor had become elaborate artwork. Vehicles turned into gardens of crystalline flowers that sang with harmonious tones. The humans weren't destroying the Saurian military infrastructure. They were transforming it into something beautiful and peaceful, demonstrating that they could alter matter and energy at the molecular level through pure will. "This is impossible," General Vexter whispered as he watched his most secure bunker's walls slowly transform into transparent crystal that revealed gardens growing where weapon storage areas had been moments before. Matter cannot be restructured without massive industrial equipment. But the humans had moved beyond the need for equipment. Their linked consciousness could manipulate the fundamental forces that held atoms together. They could redesign matter by understanding and directing the quantum fields that created physical reality. Dr. Sarah Chen manifested her consciousness directly in the Saurian command center, her form appearing as a shimmering figure of pure light. General Vexter and his staff stared in shock as she materialized from apparently empty air. "General," Sarah said, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate from multiple dimensions, "your weapons cannot harm us because we exist beyond their reach. Your defenses cannot stop us because we operate outside your understanding of physics. This is not an invasion. This is a demonstration." "What do you want?" Vexter managed to ask, his warriors' training overcome by the impossibility of what he was witnessing. "Your understanding," Sarah replied. 5 years ago you tried to exterminate our species. You celebrated what you thought was our extinction. You were wrong on both counts. We survived, and we evolved into something your civilizations have never encountered." Around the general, his command center continued its transformation. Computer systems became living trees whose branches displayed tactical data in patterns of light. Communications equipment evolved into crystalline formations that sang with the voices of distant stars. "We could have chosen revenge," Sarah continued. "We could have used our capabilities to destroy your worlds as you destroyed ours. Instead, we choose to show you what conscious evolution can achieve. Your missing people are safe in pocket dimensions where they are learning to transcend their limitations just as we have." The same demonstration was occurring simultaneously on 16 other Confederation worlds. Human consciousness was reshaping military installations into gardens, transforming weapons into art, converting symbols of war into monuments to peace and understanding. Admiral Corvin watched from his flagship as reports poured in from across Confederation space. Every major military installation was being systematically transformed by beings who could manipulate reality itself. No weapons could touch them, no defenses could stop them, no strategy could counter an enemy that existed partially outside the normal universe. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the humans," his communications officer announced. "They're requesting a conference." "Put them through." Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen, but her image seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Her voice carried the harmonics of hundreds of minds speaking in perfect unison. "Admiral Corvin, you wanted to see humanity at its end. Instead, you have witnessed humanity at its beginning. We are no longer the species you fought. We have become something that transcends individual existence while maintaining our essential humanity." "What are you?" Corvin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We are what conscious evolution looks like," Elena replied. "We are proof that intelligence can transcend physical limitations when freed from the constraints of individual thought. We are the next step in the development of awareness itself." On the screen behind Elena, images appeared showing the transformed Confederation installations. Weapons had become musical instruments. Military vehicles had evolved into transportation that used consciousness rather than fuel. Soldiers were learning to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Your people are not prisoners," Elena continued. "They are students. We are teaching them to move beyond the limitations of single-mind existence. Some will choose to return to their old lives. Others will join us in exploring what consciousness can become when it evolves beyond individual boundaries." "The Confederation will never accept this," Corvin said, though his voice lacked conviction. "The Confederation is a concept based on domination through superior force," Elena replied. "We represent a new paradigm based on cooperation through expanded consciousness. Your choice is simple: evolve with us or remain trapped in obsolete patterns of thought." Through the quantum link, Elena could feel the presence of every human survivor and thousands of Confederation citizens who were learning to transcend their limitations. The network was growing, welcoming new minds that chose conscious evolution over the constraints of individual existence. "We give you 1 year, Admiral," Elena announced. 1 year to consider what we have shown you. When we return, we will offer every being in the Confederation the choice to join us in the next phase of conscious evolution. Those who choose to remain as they are will be allowed to do so, but they will no longer be permitted to impose their limitations on others. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Corvin alone with the impossible reality of what humanity had become. Through the quantum network that now linked consciousness across the galaxy, Elena Vasquez felt the satisfaction of a demonstration well executed. Humanity had returned from extinction not as conquerors, but as teachers. They had shown the galaxy what was possible when consciousness evolved beyond the boundaries of individual existence. The choice of what to do with that knowledge now belonged to every thinking being in known space. In hidden laboratories scattered through the asteroid belts and nebula clouds, human survivors continued their work of exploring the infinite possibilities of evolved consciousness. They had transcended the limitations that had once defined their species, becoming something that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions while maintaining their essential humanity. The war was over, but the real adventure was just beginning. Consciousness itself was evolving, and humanity would lead the way into possibilities that no single mind could have imagined. The sky had indeed torn open, but what emerged was not destruction. It was transformation, hope, and the promise that intelligence could grow beyond any boundary once thought absolute. Elena Vasquez floated in her asteroid laboratory. Her consciousness expanded across the galaxy through the quantum network that connected all evolved minds. Around her, former enemies worked alongside human survivors, learning to transcend the limitations of individual existence. The Confederation had celebrated humanity's extinction. Instead, they had witnessed humanity's transformation into something the universe had never seen before. And for those willing to evolve, the invitation to join that transformation remained open. The future belonged to consciousness without limits, and humanity would show the way.